Really, really excited to be with you tonight. My name is Coach AJ Arnold Austin. Again, I'm really, really excited to be with you tonight. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an experiment that I read, but also about dating and how to finally end up meeting the right person. This talk tonight was based upon a post that an associate of mine had up, and it kind of made me think about certain things that I think that it would be beneficial for individuals to find out about or to know about if they're actually out here and they're trying to meet someone and they're trying to actually date and you know establish a solid relationship and so on and so forth. And one of the things that I was thinking about before I kind of jotted out some things before I got on here. And one of the things that I was thinking about is that there's an experiment that I read or that I saw a number of years back. And in this particular experiment, it was called the Capuchin monkey experiment. And in this experiment, there was these what they did was that they had these monkeys in these cages side by side, and that they would give them basic tasks that they wanted them to do daily. Like, and the task was basically take a rock from where it was to where they wanted to put it. And I'm talking about this for a reason, so stick with me. Appreciate anybody that's in here. Thank you for the taps, the likes, the shares. um, and so what would happen over a period of time is that these monkeys, based upon this experiment, and they were monitoring the behavior, they would take this rock and they would move it to this other section based upon getting a reward of the cucumber. The cucumber was the reward. So they would do that 6 or 7 times, for instance, within a day. Over a period of time, after doing this experiment for a number of days and seeing how the monkeys were interacting, and how that they both had the same reaction to the experiment, and that there wasn't any you didn't see where there was any, they didn't react any different than the other monkey. And so what they end up doing, the person that was controlling or monitoring or putting on the experiment, what he did was he changed things up a little bit. He kept the task for both monkeys the same, but what he did was, instead of rewarding both monkeys with a piece of cucumber, he gave one monkey a grape and one monkey a cucumber. This experiment is actually on YouTube. It's part of that's one of the places I saw it, and it's called the Capuchin monkey experiment. And what they found is that these monkeys were intelligent enough to understand that, okay, he got a grape and I still got this cucumber. And what would happen is the monkey that would get the cucumber would get, all of a sudden, his behavior would change because of the differences in treatment. And I'm talking about this is because if you're out here and you've been in relationships, you've had some struggle, you've had some hardship, many times what happened is we get conditioned based upon experiences. If you've been in traumatic relationships, then you have experiences of relationships not working. It's hard to find people that are serious and that aren't the same, just in a different maybe race, or just a little bit older, or maybe there's some other characteristic or thing that they're doing. But you'll find for many people that they keep meeting the same people over and over again, just in different states and just different places, and maybe even in the Caribbean or wherever else they go. And part of it is the energy that the person is placing within the universe. And I mention this often, and so as this experiment went on, the monkey that was not receiving the grape but was receiving the cucumber, he started getting outraged. Many times that same monkey would stop working. Not only would it stop working, but it would also, thank you for the like, it would also start getting to a point, but it would start throwing things and trying to break the cage. And so all of us understand, and the point with that story is all of us understand that there are times in our lives when we were treated unfairly. Put that in the chat, say unfair. Put it in the chat, because there are times when all of us in our lives that we were treated unfairly. But the point with all of that is, if you were treated unfairly at some point in your life, and if you're just getting in here now, I'm going to repost this. Go back to the beginning and watch this. You're going to be glad that you did. If you were treated unfairly at some point, how you doing, Latea? Then how did you feel about it? Did you like it? Of course you didn't like it, because anytime that we're treated unfairly, we don't like it, because what that represents is that somebody has taken the time, and they've overlooked us. They've made us feel like we were less than. They made us feel like we weren't enough. And so through that process, it was a process of disrespect. You were being disrespected. And so I use that experiment with the monkey because if a monkey can understand, and again, this is an actual experiment that was done by I guess scientists or whatever you want to call them, and it's called the Capuchin monkey experiment. And in that experiment, when they changed, the task was still the same. They still were taking the rock from one place to the next, but instead of both of them getting the cucumber as a food, as a reward, one of them started getting the grape. The one that got the grape, the other monkey knew that what he was getting wasn't the same. So that's why he started acting so crazy. You know, this what I'm talking about tonight is just some general thoughts that I had based upon a post that a friend of mine that I've known for years, she put up today. And when she put the post up, I thought about certain things that that's going on right now in the whole quote unquote dating scene. And but the first thing, let me stay on track here. So the first thing is if you've been in a position where someone has done something to treat you different, treat you wrong, how did that make you feel? And that's something that I would ask you to kind of, jot down and look at and say, how did you feel when that experiment and when that experience happened? You probably were hurt. You probably were angry. You probably were, there was probably some type of resentment and bitterness that started growing and developing in you based upon someone treating you different, someone ostracizing you, someone minimizing you, right? And then the second thing is, did you like it? Of course you didn't. None of us like this. But the point is, and part of what I try to share with individuals as I'm coaching is when we don't go through the steps of going through our own personal journey of healing and reconciling our hearts to a place of purity and a place of consciously being aware of how we got ourselves in these particular situations. What were the things we needed to experience and learn? Because even when I look at the relationships and the marriage and the different things that I've been in, there were things that I needed to learn from those experiences. And so if I'm looking at them as learning experiences, then it's something that I can grow from. It's something that I can use as a springboard to bounce from, to move to the next place, to move to the next level. But if I'm looking at it as a thing of, look at what they did to me. Oh, poor, pitiful me. And of course, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have mercy on yourself. Of course we should. But at some point, we have to pull the reins back and we have to identify that, you know what, at some point, there are certain parts of this that we have to look at and say, you know what are some things that I can change and what are some ways that I can take responsibility for this event that took place? And so the third thing was, would you be willing to do that to others? Because a lot of people, and I'm asking these questions because many people that go through hurtful experiences in dating, and then they turn right around after not healing and they do the same thing that was done to them to someone else. I can remember there was an associate that I had in my life. This person would often talk to me about being bullied as a young person. This person right now, because of not healing, is doing the exact same thing to grown people that was done to this person as a young girl. But this person is doing it through spiritual practices. This is part of the reason why I taught that lesson last week, because it is unfair because you've been through a painful experience. What's up, Renee? To now take that pain and then dump it on other people. It's not fair, because if you're doing unjust events, if you're oppressing other people, it's going to come back. It's not just something that we can do and we can get away with, and it's we can kind of skate in. And no, if you're doing things to harm other people consciously, that means that you're moving in the place of sociopath and psychopath. I wouldn't want to move in those areas, because those are areas that people are moving into where they don't care about the results and what they do to other people and how it's going to affect someone else and how they're going to be hurt and how it's going to affect their family. They don't care. They could care less about how it's going to affect you because of where they are, because of the experiences that they've gone through, how someone has hurt them. So now their only agenda is to hurt, kill, steal, and destroy other people. And if you're claiming to be a child of the Most High, you can't operate the way everybody else is operating. You got to come from a different place. You got to come from a place where you're trying to do the right thing, trying to do what is right. Are we always right? Of course we're not. Of course we're not always right. But I'm saying at least having a mindset to think in terms of someone else. That's why I asked these 4 questions. That's why, like I said, if you're just coming in now and you didn't see everything that I talked about from the beginning, you got to go back and you got to watch that story that I talked about in the beginning about those capuchin monkeys and the example in that, and how that example applies to us, many of us in our lives, based upon unfair things that happen to us not really dealing with it. Because of not dealing with it, we just pour it out on everybody else that we meet. It's just a reciprocating process of just pouring out hurt and damage and pain on everybody that we meet. We're just suicide, just destroying any and everybody that comes within our capacity that we meet at that point. This is why healing is so important. This is why connecting into a person that is a coach or that is in the psychology or psychotherapist. You want to find people that actually are actually working on themselves, not people that are still coming from a bitter, hurt place. Yeah, conditioned, but people that are in a place where they're actually working on themselves. I said that I used to say this on my lives all the time when I was doing lives on TikTok and YouTube at the same time. I would say this often, and I said this as a sign for people to see that we're watching my lives. If you're following a person on lives and all of their agenda and all of their conversations is about all men do this or all women do that, that is a glaring red flag to let you know that this person, because healing is not gender specific. Healing is that person has gone through a transformation. They've changed. It's a process of, it's a painful experience that you've gone through, that through some type of loss or some type of tragedy that pushed you to the point where you had to get on your face and you had to grind this thing out. You had to deny yourself a lot of things that you wanted to do to get to the place where you could get better. And so part of that is, you separated yourself from people. You didn't do the dating. You didn't do all the things that everybody says you should do, and, meet somebody new, and you're working yourself after death, and all, just all the things that they're teaching, which are crazy. It's wrong. And I say that as someone who did it. I avoided what I was feeling. Put avoid in the comment. Put avoid in the comment. I avoided what I was feeling because it was easier. And I talk about this when I do my webinar. It was easier for me to work from morning till evening. So my schedule was just packed from morning till evening. So by the time I went to bed, I crashed out and I slept and woke up and got up the next day, ran to the gym, went to kickboxing, did this, did that, was in a speaker's class, was studying for this, was studying to get my coaching certificate. Thank y'all for in the chat. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for your comments. I was doing all of these things, but in the process of doing all these things, I wasn't doing anything for my healing. I was avoiding it. I was avoiding the thing that was most important for me to get to the next level. If we're avoiding the thing to get us that we need to get us to the next level, then we're setting ourselves up to fail. We won't be able to succeed. If you're just coming in here now, I'm going to suggest it to you again. You're going to want to go back because this thing is going to probably be uploaded pretty quickly. And then I'll edit another copy. But you're going to want to go back to the beginning and watch this, because I went over an experiment that applies to any person that's out here that's meeting people, and you're going to want to hear that. So first thing is, and so the 4 things real quick. I asked these 4 questions. How did you like it when you were overlooked? Did you like it? Of course not. How did you feel about it? Because not only didn't you not like it, but you have to get connected into where you were emotionally. So what did you feel? Emotion represents how you feel about something. How did you feel when you were overlooked? How did you feel when someone, ostracized you or put you, made a difference between you and someone else? How does that make you feel? It makes you feel disrespected. It makes you feel hurt. It makes you feel overlooked, right? And so this is why I'm talking about this, is because when you're out here and you're meeting people, if you haven't healed, many times based upon the last treatment, that treatment that we take to the next one is going to be the same thing. Because we're going to be carrying scars. So we're coming into something new with old information. There's a biblical verse that says you can't put new wine in the old skins or old wines in the new skins. You got to put new into new, old into old. You can't, if you want something new, part of what I'm trying to say is, if you want something new, if you want a new car, why would you still be, unless you're going to take an old one and rebuild it and get that thing sexy and get that thing back to the place of something that's just, totally rehabbed and rebuilt, and all new liner and the new engine and a new exhaust. But if you want something new, you got to get something new. You can't get new and still operate from old. I mean, that should be just common sense. If you're a new creature, if you're newly created in the image of the Creator, you're not like you used to be. There's parts of you that has changed. There's a transformation. There's transition that has taken place. Come on. Woo, man. Y'all better start playing with me. I'm about to get wound up in this, please. Yo, I'm getting wound up in here. But there's transformation that's taking place within you because you see where what you've done up to this point has not worked. It hasn't worked the way that I've met people. It hasn't worked, with not acknowledging the Creator. Because when I got married the first time, because I've only been married once, but when I got married, I didn't acknowledge God. We both were together. We both knew each other because we had been dating. But not only was I dating her, I just dated numerous women at that time because I was single. I was in my 20s. And that's what I did. I wasn't tied down to anybody. When I was single, I was single. When I was in a relationship, I was in a relationship. That was my mindset back then. But my point with all of this is that, so when she started going to church, I knew at some point that I was going to start going. And so I started going, following her. And so long story short, I felt like because we both were going to church, didn't acknowledge, didn't pray about it, did none of the things that they talk about. I went based upon logic. And the logical decision was not the right decision. That doesn't mean she's a bad person or I'm a bad person. It just means that sometimes we make decisions based upon thinking we should do something, and it's not the thing that we should do. It's just simple. Part of the reason why, and I'll give you one example why it was the wrong decision. Because I'm an entrepreneur. I have been a business owner for over 30 years in one capacity or another. I've owned real estate. I've done real estate, which I still do. I owned a construction company I built for almost 30 years. I've done real estate. I've done all these different things. Right now, I'm building this coaching business. So I'm an entrepreneur. So what that represents is my mindset is different than a guy that's going to be 9 to 5. And so I always was hustling. I always was grinding. And there always was the contention of, why do you got to go do that? And why are you still doing that? And why are you still at work? And so there was always this tension and contention about something that I was doing, not just for myself, but for my family and my generations. Because I picked the wrong person. I did not pick a person that was suitable for an entrepreneur. Again, that doesn't mean that she was a bad person. It was ignorance on my part and ignorance on her part. We didn't know. And just like I talk about in my book. In my book, I talk about that I said the vows when I got married. I love, want to honor, want to cherish, in death do us part, in sickness and in health, and bada bing and bada bang. Never had the discussions about any of that. We never had those discussions. What does it really mean to love? This is what I talk about. We think we know what love, but the person that you're with, they should have a clear understanding of what love is to you. Not these unrealistic expectations, but what is the clear understanding that they have of what love is to them? People say, I want to love this person, or I love this person. What does that mean? Explain to me, because I don't want to assume, because if I assume, then my assumption could be wrong. Put wrong in the chat. Put wrong in the chat. Your assumption could be wrong. Honor. When you start looking at those words represent that you're putting this person that you've brought into your life in high esteem. That you're not putting anybody else above them. So what that represents is that if you're a mama's boy or if you're a daddy's girl, or if you're anything else, or you're whatever, when you get married, that's what it means to me, is that I'm not going to put my mom, which I never would do anyway, and I never did, my mother over my spouse. I'm not doing it because I'm not married to my mother. I love my mom. My mom is the greatest example of a woman that I'm glad that I had in my life, because she's the one that allowed me to understand and to let me know that it's easy for me to love a woman. It's easy for me to understand a wise woman because my mother is a wise woman. It's easy for me to understand and see a godly woman because my mom is a godly woman. I grew up in the house with her. I saw her live what she talked about. This is part of what I'm saying to you. But sometimes we want to give people free credit that don't deserve it. And so let me get back to my point now, and I'm almost done here. If y'all going to have any questions, that's true, Latea. That's true. If y'all going to have any questions, thank y'all for the taps and likes and shares. Appreciate that. But if you're going to have any questions, I'll leave it some time at the end for questions, question and answer. Like I said, I'm just going to go over a few more things here. And so I asked the 4 questions, and the third one was, the fourth one was, how did you feel? It's important to understand how you feel, because how you feel is showing you what you're thinking. People that are depressed a lot of times don't understand how they're feeling, or they don't understand what they're thinking, but they understand how they're feeling. You have to. One of the things that I really that was highlighted in my life was when I started writing my book. Thank you, H. Jones. How you doing tonight? Invisible, yeah. When you start getting to the point that you're no longer one of the things that got highlighted was I started understanding that I don't know how I was going to say this, but how you feel is important, because when you basically, like I was saying before, when I started writing my book, it made me as a man start thinking about how I felt. It made me start actually looking at where were my thoughts, where was I emotionally. It made me stop again, because when I was going through coaching, my coach would make me kind of address these things. This is why I talk about these things, because these were things that were important that I know that helped me. Because when you're going through the process of grief, because you're grieving the loss of something, you're going to be in various different places. You're going to be a place where one day where you're going to be angry, another day where you're going to feel like you're unforgiven. You're just going to be in one of these stages of grief at all points, at all time, because of the experience that you've gone through. And so let me get back to my point. This whole lesson started with an associate of mine on one of the social medias. She put up a post today, and in the post, I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm not going to say exactly the way she said it, but the post basically mentioned that the next man she meets is going to go through hell to get to know her. Basically, that's how she phrased it. There was a picture of her up there, and she had that in like the captions and the paraphrasing and whatever. And when I saw the post, because I try not to be on a lot of social media right now, because my schedule. First of all, my schedule don't allow it. But when I saw the post, and what it did was, for me, was it made me think of four things real quick that I want to share with y'all, and then I'll be done. Again, if you're going to have any questions, save them for the end. Is the audio okay? Because the audio I did last 2 days ago was like really bad. I should have asked y'all that a while ago. Is the audio okay? Yes? No? Yes? Sounds good. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Latea. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, H. Jones. Appreciate y'all. And so, some of the things that I thought about, and this is anything that I say, I'm not saying this as a means of pointing the finger at her or anybody else. I'm saying that this is the way I think when I see certain things, because I always got to go back to reflection and introspection. So the first thing I wrote was, who is responsible for the people that we've dated in our past? That's a question that I would ask. It's it's a question that I would ask her, and I'm probably going to ask her. I'll probably text her later. I'll text her later and I'll ask her, who's responsible for the people that we dated in the past? Are they responsible or are we responsible? Because in order for someone to come into our lives, there has to be a first of all, we have to see them. There has to be some level of attraction, right? I'm writing these things down. Hold on. There's got to be some level of attraction. This pen, some level of attraction. There's got to be a conversation. After the conversation, there's got to be a process of wanting to believe what we heard. And then there's going to be some type of action as far as you my girl, you this, you that, whatever, so on and so forth. There's going to be some form of steps that are going to go through to get to the point where you're going to meet that person. You end up dating them, going out with them. But what happens for many of us is that we go either to the place of compatibility, which I talk about a lot, or chemistry. Many times, chemistry just represents the surface level of attraction. You're attracted to the person. You like their conversations. You like, being around them. There's certain little things that you may have in common with that individual. But if there's going to be any true compatibility, then what you have to do is there's an excavation process where you got to start digging down deep, and you got to get to the root of all of the topics which are most important. And one of the topics, like I was talking about earlier today with the small group, is intimacy. I said, what I find by being a coach, but also being a man and having a lot of male friends, and they're married. So most male friends that I've had, they all complain about their intimacy or lack thereof with their spouse. Most of them across the board, they complain about it. And part of it is because when they were dating that person, they were getting a lot of activity, and it's often and it's all the time. And did that. Then all of a sudden they make a commitment to this person. They marry them. They love them. So on and so forth. And then all of a sudden it goes down to nothing, or once every so many weeks, and so that's a problem because, for one of the things that has to be discussed to make sure that there's a level of compatibility, and I talk about this often, is have you discussed that with the person that you're looking to have a commitment with? Because everybody's appetite within those realms of certain things needs to be somewhere close, or there has to be some type of, you got to know where that person is on that scale as far as what are they going to need, or what is their appetite, or what are they going to need. It can't be something later where you're all of a sudden that it's like a task that you have to do for them, which is the way. And I'm telling you this as a male that talks to other men. I'm single now, so it don't matter to me. But as a man, other men, this is what is their biggest complaint. A lot of them, their biggest complaint. I made a commitment to this woman, and she knows I love her. I got to basically beg her to have, be intimate with me, and blah, blah, blah. But she wants me to do all these things for her. And so it builds, one of the things that I would tell you, and I'm gonna move on from this. It builds a level of resentment in men, because that is the highest form of rejection from a male perspective concerning my woman or my wife. If she's rejecting me, that is the highest form of rejection, because that is one of the ways that just like a lot of women like cuddling and this, that, and the other. If men do not get that physical, that's a high level of rejection. Okay. And so the first thing is who's responsible for that relationship? Who's responsible whether you're in one or not in one? That would be my responsibility, because we are grown. Put grown in the chat. You put grown in the chat. We're all grown here. We make the decisions of who we're going to talk to versus who we're not going to talk to. Since I've been single 4 years, I've only had a couple women that I've actually talked to. When I say talk to, like we actually went out on a date or somewhere, but I had numerous ones that I had conversations with. But because of the conversations, I knew that they weren't not the person, that there was no capacity for us to go any further than just some few conversations. We're friends, so on and so forth. We kicked it, we went out, so on and so, nothing crazy. Just we went out, we're friends. That's it. It's ending there, because I know that because of my experiences, I know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Again, that's not a sign that they're a bad person. They're just not my person. That's part of why you have to know who you are, because when you know who you are, you're going to be able to identify the person that's close to where you are, the person that's going to fit into your life, and vice versa. Your lives are not going to be clashing. My life is busy, so anybody that's in my life, there's certain things that they're going to have to be able to deal with and to address, and not act like, not act like I'm a bad guy because I'm doing something, because I have to do something, because the stuff that I'm sitting here doing now, I don't have any choice. I have to do this because this is the reason why I was born. The reason why I was born was to go through that struggle with my ex, to learn about healing, to then go take that healing message to the world. That's the reason why I was born. And so anything that's going to hinder that is gone. It's out. Because I'm going to be in compliant with what I'm supposed to do versus what somebody else wants me to do. I don't care what they want me to do. Second thing is it smart to is it smart to protect yourself? Yes, of course it's smart to protect yourself. So part of what that person put in that post, part of it I understand is that she's trying to protect herself. That's smart. But part of protecting yourselves is this is why it's best just to have conversations with people and stop being intimate with people. I'm sorry, y'all. As a man, of course, I would rather let's get intimate. Let's get this cracking. Let's get it cracking. I'm being honest. I'm gonna be transparent with y'all. But the point I'm trying to make is that if we're going to build something with any longevity or any stability, I need to know the way that you think. I need to see you in different environments. I need to see the way that you handle yourself when you're angry, because not every person that is angry knows how to handle themselves. Some people, when they're angry, they act like they are crazy. They don't know how to be an adult in that moment. They want to have a temper tantrum and throw things and hit somebody and do stuff that is just erratic and just unhinged. So that's the second thing is it's smart for that person to want to protect themselves, but the protection starts with the first part in who you're getting involved with. And your involvement, just because you're talking to them or going out on a date with them, it does not mean that it has to get to the point where there's all this emotionalism with the intimacy, because that's when, especially for a lot of women, if she hasn't been, for a lot of women, that's when a lot of the emotional connection, the bonding takes place. This isn't according to me. This is according to studies. The chemistry that's released from a woman through that bonding of the intimacy is similar to when she has a child and that child is laying on her chest. It's the same thing. This is why when you do things, you got to understand that there are consequences, not only physical, but spiritual consequences for things that we do. Third thing, the third thing is that young lady is living with an expectation that she's going to repeat the same cycle over and over by saying that the next man is going to have to go through hell. She's basically programmed her mind to think that, well, he's just going to be just like everybody else, which is not true. Every person is not the same. If you're a healed person, I would hope that you believe, or that if you're working on healing, I would hope that you believe that there are other people out there somewhere in the world, and the 8 billion people between here and the Caribbean and all over the world, that there's somebody else out there that's working on themselves too, that's serious about changing their lives, that's in alignment with where you are, that somehow, some way. I just believe in synchronicities and things happening outside of our understanding. And if there's somebody that you're supposed to meet, you'll go to a meeting, you'll go to a class, you'll go to an art show, you'll go to somewhere, someplace, and sometime, and you'll meet the person. But it's part of you meeting this individual is getting out of the energy of being needy. You cannot go food shopping when you're hungry. You cannot meet people when you're starving for people, because you're going to take on and grab a hold of anything, because it's a body, it's a person. And I'm saying this as a man, but there's also women on here in this chat that I'm telling you the same thing. You're going to pick a joker later that you're going to say, why did I even pick this person? This wasn't even a person that I really even thought was all that. You picked them because of feeling maybe a little bit lonely. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it goes back to what I just mentioned a little while ago about us understanding how we feel. How do you feel? This is why I would tell every single person on here that's in that lot, and this live right now, is that I want you to start writing daily. I want you to start writing about what you're feeling on a daily basis. Because your feelings are showing you what you're thinking. Your feelings are showing you what you're thinking. And when you understand what you're thinking, if our thinking isn't getting us the result that we want, you have to start changing what you're thinking. And how you start changing what you're thinking. If you're interested in being part of my coaching, let me know. But if you want to change what you're thinking, you want to be a part of a community of people that are putting new information in their minds. People that understand the importance of high vibration frequency music, people that understand the importance of raising their frequency and raising their vibration and getting in different places. You stop meeting the same people when you stop allowing the same program to be in your mind that was in your mind from before. Just like I said before, you can't put new wine in old skins. You can't think that you're getting a new vehicle, but you're still driving an old one. Either you're going to go buy a new one or you're in an old one. Either it's new or it's old. You can't do the old and expect the new. If you want a new body, you can't keep doing the same things you did to have your body in the condition that it is now. You might need to start walking. You might need to cut out meat, or you might whatever you might need to do. I don't know, and I'm just saying as an example. Fourth thing, and I'm done. If you have any questions, stay in here, and I'll just stay on, and we'll just have some chat with y'all. And appreciate each and every one of you for being in here. Renee, you're still the what do you call it? Moderator too. Just so you know. But appreciate y'all being in here. So you can part of all this what I'm sharing is so that you can stop dating the same people. You can stop dating the same people. Part of stop dating the same people is there's got to be a change take place within us concerning our mindset and our energy. If you're interested in getting to the point where you're changing your energy and your mindset, you're tired of doing it alone. You're tired of repeating the cycle. You're tired of the same struggles over and over again. You want to book a call with me. And what I'll do is I got a group coaching session, or I can set up a group coaching session with people, but I also have one-on-ones there's a Latea. Latea's in here. She's part of my coaching. I give her, even though she's part of the group, I give her a full one-on-one session. I mean, for whatever reason, I don't know why, because normally I'm like, time is up. But I'm thinking about it, I'm laughing, I'm thinking about it. But Latea gets full, like she's getting one-on-one sessions, but Latia, yeah, and Latai, oh Lataya, is that right? I don't know. See that y'all with these spellings and these names. I'm gonna call you La. Let me stop. But so it's how can you stop matching up with the same people? And part of it is Lataya. Okay, Ty. Okay. And so how do you stop? It's a process of the changes that take place within you through you growing, through you changing your expectations, you changing your mindset. Um, do you, Lataya? Do you think it's worth being a part of the coaching? And even though you and I have just basically discussed um, different other topics, I haven't even really gotten into the depths of the coaching. Do you think it's something that you would recommend, Lataya? Anybody else have any questions in here? That's funny. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate each and every one of you that's in here. Thank y'all for the taps, the likes, the shares. Yeah. H. Johns. Or do you follow me? I asked you that the other day. I don't see. Yeah. H. Johns. It starts with you knowing what you're looking for. Yeah. Okay. See y'all. If I get distracted, it's because I'm actually reading the comment. And so it starts with you actually knowing what you're looking for. And so what that looks like is, I don't know what field you're in, but I find that the easiest way to meet people is to meet people in your natural environment. And so what that would be for me is gym. I do martial arts. I do all the stuff I do. That's the easiest natural way for me to meet someone if I'm looking. Um, or social media, because if you're on social media, you'll get DMs pretty consistently, but then you don't know who these people are, because people are there's a lot of imposters on social media, and so you'll see a photo or something of someone, and you'll meet them, and they won't be the same person. And Not always. I'm just That's a general statement. Because I know friends of mine that met individuals on the dating apps and things like that. I've never been on a dating app. I never had to, and I just have never done it. And since I've been single, and one reason why I stopped doing the lives at one point on TikTok was because of all of the dating, whatever you call it, I was getting at one point, because it was just too much. Because I felt like I was on there trying to do something to help people heal, and I was getting hit with all these things, and I didn't want to hurt people, and I didn't want to. You know what you're looking for? Oh, well, that's a plus. That's a plus if you know what you're looking for. You know, Hopefully you're looking for someone that's working on themselves. Hey, okay. I just got a message on my phone.